Hello, everyone. And we are back. Babula and I are back with another episode of Astrology Now. And Babula, recently you and I were invited to be on a show called Down South Anomalies, where we spoke about astrology. And in one of towards the hosts didn't know much about astrology. But sometimes that's really good, isn't it? Because they ask these interesting questions.
Yeah.
And one of the questions asked, and I have this question too, was, how far does astrology work? Like, does it go beyond our solar system, and how does it affect the asteroids? And which sort of brings me to my question today about, I've got an asteroid called Sekhmet in my chart, and I was having a conversation with Barry about. He asked the question, "How does Sekhmet play out?" And I said, "Well, I think she's the relates to war." But he said, "How does the person naming the asteroid know to call it that?" Well, I didn't know. So I had to go and look up who named it, and etc. Why did she call it that? And unfortunately, I can't ask the person who did because she's now passed away in 2021. But I really wanted to know, why did she call it Sekhmet, and how does that work in our charts when an asteroid is named something and the energy of it affects our charts, even though it was only discovered and named in 1991. Like, the great mystery of astrology, isn't it?
It's such a great question, and it's something that I've always enjoyed, thinking about, and I've long been fascinated in names. I mean, the name I go by is not my birth name. I have a birth name, and why do we name our children the names we do? Um, and how come planets get named in certain ways, and traditionally, they draw on mythology, and there's I don't know the exact number up to date, but there must be like 20,000 named asteroids. There's squillions of asteroids, so many names. um how does this naming happen, and what's it got to do with the energy? But it does. I started looking into this years ago about our own personal names and what they mean. And my birth name and my current name, they have meaning, they have energy, and they have significance. But how does someone know what to call a new planet that's been discovered? It's not a new planet, but it's been newly discovered, or an asteroid. How do they know? And how could that possibly carry its meaning into our life as it shows up in our chart? It's just so interesting, that thing, but it works, and it just works. I remember that time when I discovered you had a whole bunch of the Egyptian asteroids quite strongly placed in, like quite a lot of them in your chart. And, you do have that strong sense of association to those energies of Egypt. And there it is in the chart.
Yes.
And yeah.
Well, at the time I was saying, and by the way, listeners, we will be getting on to the new moon in Virgo, but it
Yeah.
was just a question that I had that was brought up partly by doing this interview with the Down South
Yeah.
Anomaly show, and my own interest, because earlier in the year, and those who get my newsletter will know, I wrote about how goddess Sekhmet had shown up in my life in so many different ways. And then Babula said, "Oh, just check your chart." And here I have all these Egyptian,
That's
not
right.
all, but a lot of Egyptian asteroids there. So how does the woman who named it in 1991 know to call it that asteroid
That's
Sekhmet,
right.
right? How?
My theory, my instinct is that a child coming into this life, an asteroid, a planet. Now, some people might think this is weird, but I happen to think this. already has a name, and the parents, the astronomer who discovers, just it comes to them. Like it just comes to them. For example, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I knew very early on in the pregnancy that her name was Catherine with a K. And I knew I just knew. And I never wavered from that. It took us a lot longer to find my son's name, but we did, right? So it's very interesting to me, this whole thing of naming. So, traditionally an astronomer who discovers a body has been traditionally given the honor and the right to name it. And as I said, they tend to traditionally draw on mythology, but because there are now so many asteroids, now people are using all kinds of interesting names because it kind of run out of mythological characters, although there's a lot of mythological characters in different traditions. It's a vibrational resonance thing, and it's an intuitive thing. It's just, when you just know something, like I just knew this child in my womb was Catherine. And that wouldn't make any logical sense to anybody, but I just knew. And then when I understood also the meaning of my birth name, when I really understood it one day, I was in a deep meditation process workshop group thing. And I went, oh, and it landed in me and I got it. And I started crying. It was so clear and so beautiful and so on. So there's something about an energetic resonance that names and words have. Words, which leads us to Mercury. We're going to talk a lot about Mercury today. The magic and the power of a word, right? And a name, I think is a fascinating, fascinating thing.
Yeah, I just find the whole thing interesting about naming the asteroids and the planets. Well, the planets were after the gods, but then it goes out to the asteroids.
Yes.
And it's like, well, how did that person decide to choose Sekhmet for that asteroid, which now holds those energies, instead of naming it Reiki asteroid?
Well, there is an asteroid called Reiki.
I know.
That's right.
Or Ceres, or how did they not get that wrong?
That's right. And then you see what happens when a body in the sky is discovered and named. The astronomers do that, and then they generate the ephemeris, which plots the movement and the location of that body. So then the astrologers take that information of the name and the location and movement, and they start putting it in charts. And one of the first things they're going to do, traditionally, particularly if it's been named after, say, a figure in mythology or a person's name, if it's mythology, they'll start reading up and learning about the mythology and start putting it in people's charts. And then, and I love playing with asteroids, and I have so many, oh my God, moments when I play with asteroids that I just go, wow, I can't believe that. Often I find things absolutely spot on, relevant to a situation, an event, a person's life, a person's experience.
Yeah, I could have just dropped dead the time you told me that the asteroid Corona was active at the time when the coronavirus was coming to us.
That's right.
Like,
that's right. And there is a figure in mythology called Coronis, who she was the wife of Chiron, the great healer. And there's all these different ways to play with the word corona and Coronis. The corona around the sun, it's like a halo of light.
Yeah.
Words are so fascinating.
It's magical, I think, in a way. It
is.
It just demonstrates we're all connected. We're all plugged into something like the Matrix.
It is. And words hold power and words hold magic. And in astrology, we're going to be talking today a bit more about Mercury in Virgo. Many people have been impacted quite significantly, including myself, by this Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Mercury is the planet that we most associate with words and language. And Mercury in mythology, the god Mercury, Hermes, Mercurius, Thoth in Egypt, is the god of words and writing and the scribe and language, but he's also the magician. He's the god of magic and magicians and magic spells. How do people cast spells?
Yes,
Good
exactly.
spells or not good, through words.
Yes, yep. And
Right?
chanting, the power of chanting.
Chanting and mantras and yes, in India there's this long ancient tradition of chanting thousands of times the names of God or particular chants and songs and so on. It's really powerful. So Mercury's this little guy, a little planet just whizzing around, seems pretty innocuous and harmless, but he really makes his presence felt.
Unbelievable.
And we know how important Mercury communication is in relationships, for example, like two people in relationship. Are there Mercuries in some kind of harmony, or are they really like clashing, or is there just no connection whatsoever?
Now, if you describe someone as being mercurial, what would that mean for you?
Mercury might be very close to the sun. It might be close to the ascendant. They might have strong Gemini energy in the chart, Gemini and or Virgo. So you'll get a strong signature of Mercury, or it might be sitting up on the midheaven, or it's just showing up in a strong placement, a prominent placement, and or they might have strong Gemini themes. Like Gemini is particularly verbal.
Yes.
Virgo less so. It's more quiet, but it's an earth sign, so it's more hands-on with the mind.
Yes. Okay. So you might have an inventor who actually creates something with their hands.
That's right. And they're developing and fine-tuning their skills. It's very precise in Virgo, whereas Gemini is very much about the words and the verbal.
Yes, I see that. My late husband was a Virgo, but he was quite mercurial. I think he was an inventor as well as an engineer, etc. And so he was an original thinker, which I am not. He was an original thinker, so he'd get this information from the muses and then go and create something. Whereas, and yet my moon in Gemini plays out exactly as you said with doing radio interviews and interviews about subjects and doing this, this sort of work. Where I'm speaking a lot, public speaking, all those sorts of things.
That's right. And about many different topics.
Yes.
Right. So Mercury, so Gemini and Virgo, the two signs ruled by Mercury, are what we call mutable signs. They thrive on variety. Like Virgos love to have lots of interesting different things going on in their daily work. They don't want to just do the same old. And Gemini, we know how Gemini thrives on variety and movement and change. So you do lots of different things.
Well, honestly, Virgo, because it's Virgo season. I mean,
very.
Virgo is a bit of a downer for me.
Not everyone enjoys it.
No, because I mean, I'm not saying I don't like Virgo people. I do. I've had 3 long-term partners that are Virgos, but and they're lovely people. But it's for me who likes to look at big concepts and broad, big picture and broad ideas. It's like Virgo's like, okay, what about this right here, which is a real Debbie Downer.
It's very different to that Sag energy, isn't it? So it's, it reminds me of that T.S. Eliot poem, and I forget the words exactly, but I remembered bits of this since high school because I think it must have really had an impact on me. It's something like, to see a world in a grain of sand and infinity in an hour. Like, so in Virgo, I often imagine like a Virgo looking into a microscope and increasing the magnification to look at an insect's leg and going, wow, there's a whole universe going on in that little tiny piece. that somebody else wouldn't even notice. So it's that real bringing the mind right down into the minutiae and discovering the wonder in there.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, so Mercury's been very strong. This particular Mercury retrograde has been particularly strong because he's powerful in his own sign in Virgo. And in Virgo, it affects our work, our day-to-day stuff, stress levels, all the details, the body, our health, mechanical things, our machines.
Yeah.
Things break down, things need fixing. I often say Mercury retrograde usually costs money, because
That's true.
things need repair. And
Yes.
Virgo is all about fixing things and repairing things and healing. So yeah, many people are finding, their health's gone down. Things are breaking, things have broken down, they need repair, they're forking out extra money. But there's, a lot of a way to work with this energy is just to do a lot of cleaning and clearing and sorting, and that's been going on in our household a lot. Things that might have been put off. We finally got to sort this out and get rid of this and sell it to someone or take it to the option. A lot of that's been going on.
Yes, it's like the list that you have of things that you carry around in your mind.
That's
suddenly
right.
That goes to the forefront. Let's get this done.
Let's get this done. That's right. And you're clearing, because it's retrograde, we're clearing out old stuff. And I've been having the experience of through a few different avenues and pathways and healers and so on that I'm working with, a lot of old stuff is coming up through my body. I'm having, like, I've got an injured shoulder, I've got an injured foot.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of hobbling around a bit, but I'm having these healing sessions, and so much is a lot of old past life stuff is coming up, like old stuff and insights about these parts of the body, and certain things are being released. That's very Mercury retrograde in Virgo, things showing up through the body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and just all the basic stuff that we know of, sorting out all your files and cleaning out your cupboards and, getting rid of all the old stuff and getting organized. Literally just get your act together and get organized.
Yeah. It's a real finicky, fussy sign too. I've
noticed.
Right. Have you noticed? Like, really?
Yeah. And for someone, like you with Aquarius rising and a Sag sun, that can be really frustrating and even a bit annoying and irritating.
Or if I get an idea, then my Virgo says, okay, but blah blah blah, and I said, I'm not even there yet. I've just got an idea. I'm just talking out loud to tell you my idea. Don't ask me how it's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just still weighing up if I even want to do it,
That's right. And see, so Mercury is strong in Virgo. It's naturally very analytical.
Yes.
It immediately goes to analysis, which is great, and that's absolutely required. Like if you go to some kind of healer or medical person and say, look, I've got these symptoms, there's an analytical process, you've got to, okay, let's get some information and write down a whole list of all the things that you're experiencing. Let's sort this out.
Yes. Yeah.
So it has to get quite specific and detailed. Yeah.
So people are going to want to know some dates.
Okay, let's get into some specifics. Let's get specific. Virgo.
Let's do the Virgo number.
So on the 15th of September, we come to the Virgo new moon. And it's at 21 degrees and 58 minutes of Virgo. So the sun and the moon join together at that date. So it's the dark of the moon around those, the day before, that day, the day after, around those 3 to 4 days, there's no moon shining in the sky. Now, what's quite interesting about this new moon is that it aligns with a number of planets that are all retrograde. So there is an opposition to Neptune retrograde in Pisces, bringing in really heightened sensitivity. Like I've had a couple of very nice emotional releases during this period, which has been really good. It's helped me to release some of this old stuff in my body, you know. Trine Pluto retrograde in Taurus, trine Uranus and Jupiter. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, trine Uranus and Jupiter, both retrograde in Taurus. So the new moon is actually forming a very strong grand trine in the earth signs. And the Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus are all retrograde. So it's kind of and so is the opposition to Neptune. It's sort of emphasizing again that we're in a period of deep review and clearing of old stuff that can come to the surface and show up in our lives through, through people, through or situations that we might find ourselves going, God, I'm back here again. How did that happen?
Yes. Well, I had someone show up like a blast from the past, like contacted me on social media and went, wow, I haven't heard from you for like 30 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there's something in that might bring up old memories and start a sort of a process in some way. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. So
I was reading that those planets were forming what's called a kite. Is that correct?
It is correct.
So what's the significance of that then?
Well, that occurs, if I can diagram it simply, it's when you get a grand trine, which is a triangle, you've got points in the chart on these three, and they're all connecting up mathematically. And then down here, there's the new moon. Directly opposite is the Neptune, and that Neptune sextiles half a trine to the Pluto and the Uranus.
Okay.
In this triangle, and it looks like a kite.
Yes, yes.
Right?
So how many degrees is half a trine, just for those who don't know?
60 degrees.
Okay.
Around the circle.
Right.
So thank you for those great questions. So there's just this strong alignment, and the new moon also has quincunxes, which is 150 degrees around the circle, to the Chiron Eris North Node conjunction, and Chiron and Eris are all retrograde as well. So all these retrograde planets that we're currently experiencing are all forming these configurations up to this new moon. And even though the new moon, the sun and the moon never go retrograde, Mercury, not close to the sun and the moon, but Mercury is still in Virgo and still retrograde. So it's such a strong retrograde period. So any word you can think of that starts with RE, return, revise, reevaluate, reassess, revisit. Yeah, just, people might even, find themselves just thinking about stuff from the past. And that can literally include past lives. Because to me, when I'm looking at astrology through a karmic lens, one of the factors that I would be looking at would be retrograde planets in a birth chart. If we're talking karma, I'm including in that certain planets, but also what's retrograde. It's stuff from the past. So it's a big time of review, and Virgo supports that process of analysis. And well, let's pull this apart and let's get really specific and try and figure out what this is.
With all those planets retrograde, and I think 2 of them are going to come out or have come out or whatever, but another 2 have gone retrograde. So it's like there's no pushing forward in a big hurry.
That's right.
You'll be the tortoise, not the hare. You'll be here somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah. So this, I had a client come the other day, and I said, "This is not a time to push forward. It's not a time to rush, and this is a time just to, just to sit, be with it, make your decisions, blah blah blah."
That's right.
So, and just reevaluate everything in your life. Yeah,
That's right. It's like a farmer. There's a period where he needs to let the land lay fallow,
yes, yeah.
fertilize it, prepare the soil.
For the
It's not
next,
time for planting yet.
yes, yeah, and
Amazing time for research. For
mm,
anyone who does research, for digging around in the past, for uncovering old information, for doing deep healing work, any kind of therapy work. Really fantastic time for all of that. Cleaning house, and I mean literally and metaphorically. We're cleaning
yes,
house.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And preparing for when, early in the new year, one by one planets will start moving forward again. And I think in February, we're going to have a period like we did this year of a couple of months when there'll be no planets retrograde. And then it's like full steam ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm just thinking about digging around in the past, and just be careful what you might find. There could be some skeletons.
There could be. And, in my experience, often at times like this, things just show up. Information just comes to us that can often be very important and valuable. But yes, you might discover things that could be a bit confronting.
Yeah, and you could be saying, "Oh, I didn't know that."
That's right.
Whereas someone else in your family might have known. I never knew.
That's right. And that could create conflict. Well, why did nobody tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Behind me, Satan, I don't want to know.
right. Well, you're a Sagittarian, so I'm afraid that's not what you came in for.
No, no, tell me the truth.
Tell me the
Yeah.
truth. Exactly. So this is also going on in the body. I think health, of course, Virgo is the primary sign to do with health and medicine and illness and healing. And whatever's going on in our body, if we're working with that and not just trying to put a band-aid on it, although we love to reduce symptoms, of course, but if we're willing to look deeper, what might be the deeper underlying causes that may have their roots in the past? It can be such a valuable, valuable time for that process. Yeah. Really fantastic. Yeah.
Also, with the Virgo, I just wanted to bring up your lovely painting behind you, and what that represents in the Virgo energy.
Yes, we spoke a bit about this last time, I think, on a more esoteric
I've
level.
forgotten.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
On an esoteric spiritual level. So Virgo isn't just about the practical and the body and the nitty-gritty details and doing the bookwork and all. It is all of that. But we could say on a higher, more exalted spiritual level, Virgo is very, very connected to the divine feminine, to the divine mother, to the goddess, whatever is our way of speaking that or understanding that. And it comes, through esoteric astrology, which is based on the seven rays. They have a beautiful understanding of this. And, it's that idea of the divine mother, which in Christianity is absolutely represented by Mary, who is the perfect vehicle for the divine child. And it's not that she, as the church has tried to tell us, virginal in the sense of she's never had sex. So, now I don't know whether it's true or not that she was virginal in the sexual sense. And I'm open to understanding that there could be a whole spiritual extraordinary thing that's happened here. But it has been used to manipulate and control women. It's, to be good, to behave yourself, to be good, to be virgin when you get married. And women were put through really humiliating experiences to prove that they were intact, which is just completely silly and very degrading. But Virgo virgin, as in the sense of the word pure, pure, sacred, and holy. And that's why many Virgo people, often women, have a very strong sense of the sacred in whatever way they do. It might be that they feel their home is their temple. I actually know someone who is a Virgo, who with a partner with a Virgo moon have created the most beautiful home. And they're old friends. I've been there many times. And it is literally like walking into a temple. It's exquisite. And they keep it. They don't have children, so, that's more doable.
Yeah.
But, it's exquisitely beautiful. And you can feel that sense of the sacred. And everything is created with such care, and everything is very particular. It has meaning and significance. That's that other level of Virgo. Yeah. And for some people, they might have come from past lives where they feel like they've served as priestesses in temples, that it's got that kind of energy. Yeah. So it's a very beautiful energy on that level. It's very fine, it's very subtle, and it has, and I've experienced this when I've tuned into it, it has this incredible sense of absolute purity about it. But how that can manifest in our human life is, just being overly fussy in particular and pedantic and even, I'm going to use the word neurotic. Every sign and planet has that other side that's just like really difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
So in Virgo, it is that tendency towards being neurotically obsessive.
Yes.
OCD would be a mental health issue.
Yeah, a little bit
right?
OCD.
Yeah. So, all of these energies in the chart, they're like spectrums, or I often see them as like a mirror ball with all these different facets.
Yes,
yeah.
true.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on, shall we, and make our way through the next couple of weeks. So what's interesting, the day after the new moon, which is on the 15th, on the 16th, Mercury actually turns direct. So the new moon, on the new moon, Mercury's actually slowed down to virtually a halt. So it's stationary on the day of the new moon, and the following day it turns direct and begins to slowly move forward again. And so it stations at 8 degrees of Virgo. And some people will have those degrees, 21, 22 for the new moon and around 8, significant in their chart, and they might experience that.
So that's a time where people can feel that things can start to go forward.
Start to slowly. Yeah, slowly. Yeah. And if we're sensitive and we're actually paying attention and tuning in, you can start to actually feel it. Or people might say in retrospect, they go later that day, they might say, oh, I suddenly feel everything feels a bit easier or lighter. We can feel it.
Yes, definitely a shift. I've felt that many times.
Yeah, that's right. It's a shift. Something shifts. You go, oh, well, that feels a bit better. Or suddenly the pain in the body might start to go, oh, it's not there anymore. It just feels easier.
The magic and mystery of planetary movements.
It's incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing. Now, because this new moon has these contacts to all these other planets I spoke of earlier, there's a sequence that will follow for the following week. Like on the 19th, the sun will make the exact opposition to Neptune. On the 21st, it will make the exact trine to Pluto. And then on the 23rd, a major marker occurs every year. The sun will move into Libra, will be at 0 degrees of Libra. Now, that will occur every year around the 20th, 21st, 22nd. It just happens to be the 23rd this year. And that, of course, marks our spring equinox.
Yeah.
So in our calendar, we say that spring starts on the 21st of September in our Western calendar, but actually, in terms of cycles and real seasons, it's not until the sun is at 0 degrees of Libra.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Libra being all about balance, and you have the, the night and the day of equal
Exactly.
balance. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a moment of perfect, pure balance.
Yeah.
And I think to bring that awareness to that day, and 0 degrees to me always has a sense of like perfect purity. It's like the birth of a new baby.
Mm.
It's got that quality to it. By the
Mm.
time we get to 29 degrees, we're a bit exhausted and jaded and over it. Right.
But there's that sense of when there's balance, it's like a sense of equality too. And it doesn't
Yes.
mean we're exactly the same,
No,
but we're equal.
that's right.
Yeah.
And in harmony.
Yes. And because Libra is all about the we, not the me like Aries. It's about the we, isn't it?
That's right.
Relationships and yeah.
That's right. So we'll be entering a time for those 4 weeks after the sun goes into Libra, where we're all in that realm of relationships, harmony, balance, what's out of balance, what's in disharmony in our lives.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some win-win situations for some people who may be struggling, perhaps.
Yes, hopefully
Yeah.
that will be available.
More opportunity and support for that.
Yes. So relationships become a real focus, don't they? Mercury will continue in Virgo. In fact, just a quick recap. Mercury went into Virgo on the 29th of July. Normally he would have whizzed straight through, but he doesn't actually leave Virgo until the 5th of October. So he's going to turn direct, but he's still in Virgo for the whole of September. But the sun will move into Libra. And of course, Mars is currently in Libra.
Okay.
Yeah. Then on, like Venus has turned direct, as we know. She's now the morning star, and she's starting to move forward in Leo. This is just an interesting marker for those who like to follow the Venus cycles and the Venus star points and the pentagram and all of that. On September the 27th, Venus will come back to 20 degrees of Leo, which is where she formed the conjunction with the sun and made the Venus star point. So that could mark a significant moment for people in terms of what they've experienced during this very important and powerful Venus retrograde. It was a really powerful one for me because it was all over my Pluto. It was a very strong Venus star point. And I think it's a helpful thing to reflect on, review, reflect again. We're back in those words on what might have changed or shifted for us, during this very important Venus retrograde cycle. Remember, it was going on through the Lion's Gate and all of that. It was really huge.
Yeah.
And what's changed around our relationship with heart, with love, with relationships with people in our lives and so on.
And values too, what we value.
Yes, our personal values.
And our resources.
Yes, resources and money. Yeah. And how through Leo we feel we've been able to show up and become more visible, or whether we've received perhaps more, acknowledgement from people, all those Leo kind of themes. Yeah.
It's interesting because when you shift values, particularly, you're shifting a big perspective.
Yes.
Very big perspective that we have of our life and what we're doing and what we've done and what we want to do, or what we feel like moved to do.
It's true, and that can include, can't it, making important new decisions and choices. And I think that's an issue in Libra, that dilemma of choice. How Libra, and we'll talk about it more when we get there, of course, but this is the posture for Libra. It's this or that, oh, I'm weighing it up. I can't make a decision. I'm not sure what to do.
Bit of fence sitting there.
Yeah, and that, oh, on the one, this is a classic on the one hand, but then again, on the other hand,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, there's not a lot of really major astrological events, shall we say, happening in these next couple of weeks. I think it's mainly, that's why I'd want to focus quite a lot on the whole Mercury and Virgo story, because it's very present with us still. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
The other thing, because we've got a little bit of time, is,
Well, I wanted to bring something up too, but go ahead.
great, because we have talked about this before. I remember you said things about this before too, that Mercury is also the psychopomp. And the psychopomp in psychology and mythology and so on is that figure, that being, and Mercury is that. It's one of his other hats. He's got lots of hats. It's very Gemini, he wears lots of hats like you do. He's the guide of souls who've died. And it's more than just being someone who's able to communicate with souls, with people who've died and are on the other side. He actually will guide them into the other. And there are people who literally do perform those roles. They do. They're working in those areas of death and dying, and they are literally supporting and helping to guide people through that transition into the realms beyond this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so go on.
I was going to say, so you have these people who are death doulas.
Yes.
Who are helping families around the dying person
yes.
to understand and what to expect, and then speaking to the dying person about, I'm hoping that they talk about spiritual things, knowledge that they have of the afterlife, perhaps,
yes.
different things that can happen, different cultures, understandings of that, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's my understanding that when someone is at the very, very end, different aspects of them, perhaps different energy bodies, have already moved on, but there's still this kind of part attachment still in the body, and that just takes time for that to finally be released as well. So it's quite a process.
Yes. Yeah. Dying is not easy.
No, it's huge.
It's a process. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
right. Just as birth isn't easy either, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Those two doorways.
There's the getting pregnant part, which is a lot of fun, but then you've got the 9 months, and then you've got the birth, and you've got the rain. So it's a big process. And when it comes to dying, I'm aware of the work of one particular British researcher who said, the process of dying can start 2 years before you actually die.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense when you say that.
Not that you're going to struggle, but other faculties come into play. People can change their language, and they also can start to see deceased relatives or friends, those sorts of things.
Yes. And I've had the experience where psychics have, like, I just know some psychics are able to see when someone is preparing to depart. It's like it's already there on some level.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying, can take that much time to finally transition.
Which brings up a great segue into what I wanted to talk about, because it's all very Plutonian what we're talking about there as well. We've still got Pluto retrograde in Aquarius.
In Capricorn.
Oh, sorry, Capricorn.
Yes.
What am I saying? Yes. Capricorn.
No, I know you know that.
Yes, thank you. But we're on the path to it moving into Aquarius. And when we were on the Down South Anomalies show, if you remember, one of the hosts said, when did the age of Aquarius start? Where are we at? And she said, is it like menopause, like a perimenopause, but we're peri-Aquarius? And I said, I'm going to use that term.
Yes, that was
the peri-Aquarius phase.
Yes. That I know that was hilarious. That
It
was so much.
was.
The whole podcast was so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, Peri Aquarius. And it is, isn't it? It's a pre-period,
Mm.
but you know something's shifting and changing. We're
Mm,
not quite there yet.
no,
But
but
the
there are
old is kind
symptoms.
of, yeah, the old is releasing its grip.
Yes, yes. So we're in the peri-Aquarius phase, folks.
That's a hoot. I love it.
You
I
can
love
use that, and you can thank Aspasia Leonardo for that.
it. That's right. And many women can absolutely relate
Yes,
to that time of perimenopause. It's yeah.
but each phase, as the planets move, you could say we talk about transits and squares and trines, and there are symptoms of the movement, aren't they? Symptoms of the movement, and it's
Yes.
we're experiencing the symptoms of
Yes.
moving towards Aquarius
That's right.
as well. Mm.
That's right. And it's like, we've been talking about the powerful times of transition of birth and death. It's like that, isn't it? We come right to the end of a sign before fully moving into the next one. And it's like those, some people refer to it as a liminal space. It's neither here nor there. There's this kind of almost like a no man's land in between.
Mm.
So much is going on. It's quite intense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
big times.
Mm.
So just on that psychopomp thing, I just wanted to bring in that for some people, they might be experiencing in their life someone who is actually transitioning
Mm.
or dying or who has passed. That may, for some, absolutely be a part of what's going on now.
Or
And that I
pets.
think, yeah,
Mm.
and that it can be very helpful to communicate with them either verbally or just silently, to open those, whether they're still here and in the process or whether they've actually passed, to be open to communicating.
Mm. Mm. Because it's a supportive time for that, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is.
Mm. Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a
And
lot of information, but I do remember in our pre-chat you did say that this is a fairly easy, quiet month,
yes,
but October's coming.
October's going to be big.
Yes. So so
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Yeah.
Follow along with us for the next episode of Astrology Now to hear more about that. And we've got one more before October. Yes, we do. So, Babula will talk about that, and I will just be floored, of course, as usual, and go, oh no. But anyway, so thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the episode, please like it. And if you like to hear more, please subscribe. And if you want to share it with friends, go right ahead. We're happy to do that. And if you've had anything that has happened to you that relates to anything we've talked about in this episode, please let us know and write it in the comments. Yeah. We're always interested to hear what's been going on for you. Yeah. It doesn't have to be short. It can be long as you like.
Yes, tell us the story.
Tell us the story. Yeah. So until next time, everyone, stay safe, be well. And Babula, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And we will see you again next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.